Hi there. Not sure how many of you know the story of Ruth and Naomi from the Bible in the book of Ruth. Let me just give you a little encapsulated version, and then I'll make a few comments to share with you. Not necessarily because I think you don't know the story, but because when we read the stories in the Bible, what I have found out is that the stories are placed there to teach us how to live differently, and to have us look at the stories in terms of our own lives, and can we improve on our lives from what we read. It is a great blessing, really, to be able to read the Bible in that way. So I don't read the Bible just for information. I read it for transformation, and I thank God for that. I've always been amazed at folks who read the Bible and they know it, some of them from back to front, in the middle, and around the corners, and they know every nuance, and they know every legal action that we should take and we shouldn't take, and all of that. But I would not know that they have read the Word by the fruit that they bear. And that's not in judgment or condemnation, surely not. It is about observation. And so I pray for myself that the more I read the Bible and read the stories in it and get to know the people in these stories, that I will continue to ask the Lord to let me learn the lessons that they perhaps did not learn, to let me walk away and possibly run away from some of the behaviors that some of them had. I have, as we all do, whether we admit it or not, I have the blessing of being able to read the Bible in a way that instructs and teaches me to be better than I've ever been before. I've heard many times, and it's in the Bible, that God loves us just as we are, but He loves us too much to leave us that way. And I am very happy that that is true. For certainly, He's not leaving me the way He found me. I am definitely changing from the work that He's been doing on me in the potter's house. I've been on the wheel for a while, and as Jeremiah 18 talks about, being on the wheel in the potter's house, and the change that is wrought in you when you allow the master, the potter, to make the changes. So I do not speak of anything as if I am an authority on good behavior, and that I do not. As a matter of fact, the reality is that the reason why I love the Word so much is because it's in my sinfulness that I recognize that I need change. And God has extended His grace for all of us who will accept it, and I have greedily accepted His grace. And so as He changes me, and I read the Bible, and I read the various stories, I see myself in them, whether in the mistakes I've made, or I see where I can improve where I am at present. So in the book of Ruth, basically the story is that Ruth became an in-law to Naomi and her husband while they lived in the land of Moab. Naomi and her husband had left Bethlehem and moved to Moab because there was a famine at the time. And we learn after a while in life that you don't always leave because there's a famine. Sometimes we need to stick and stay through the famine because there are lessons there for us. But they left and went to Moab, which was as a country full with a lot of idol worshiping, and a lot of, they harmed babies. They sacrificed babies in the name of their idols. That's how crazy and wild it was there. But that's where they moved. And while there, Naomi lost her husband. He died. And then Ruth came about because she married one of Naomi's sons. And there was another young lady by the name of Orpah who married Naomi's other son. So they had two daughters-in-law, one Ruth and one Orpah. When, after the death of her sons, Naomi was distressed. She was frustrated. I mean, understandably so. Which mother wouldn't? You've lost your husband, now your sons. It had to be a difficult pill for her to swallow. So she decided she was going to return to Bethlehem. She was tired of Moab. She had, after all, suffered so much loss there. And many times, of course, when we have loss in a place, we want to lose that place. We want to leave and go someplace else where we think we will do better. And certainly, hopefully, we won't lose much, if anything, anymore. It's not always true, but that's the way we think sometimes. So Naomi decided she was returning to Bethlehem to live and leaving this difficult and sorrowful place behind. And when the decision was made, and she shared that with Orpah and with Ruth, the story goes that Orpah basically said, okay, I'm going to return to my family here in Moab. If that's the case, you're not going to be here. You have no son for me to be married to. Your son has died, my husband, so I'm going to go back to my family. But as usual, there's always one who stands out and who does things differently, and that was Ruth. Ruth, the other daughter-in-law, said, when told by Naomi that she was going to leave, Ruth simply said, I will not leave you. Wherever you go, I will go. I will not forsake you. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. It's a very famous, I love those words by Ruth to Naomi. She obviously saw something in Naomi. Ruth was she was an idol worshiper, if anything. She did not worship the living God. So obviously, while in the company and in relationship with Naomi, she must have picked up something in Naomi's life, the way she lived, maybe the way she weathered the storm of losing her husband and 2 sons. Maybe Ruth saw God in her and wanted some of what she saw in Naomi. So when Naomi told her, no, you need to stay here with your family, go back to your family, I'm sure Naomi was a bit annoyed that she, in a sense, she wanted to weep and she wanted to mourn and she wanted to be maybe distressed by herself. She just didn't want any company in her distress. But something had happened, and Ruth refused to stay in Moab. She wanted to go to Beth, not back because she was not from there. She wanted to go to Bethlehem with Naomi. And very powerful words that she uttered to Naomi, basically telling her, where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. What powerful words. It only makes me know in my spirit that Naomi was a woman of God, and Ruth needed that. And it's one of the greatest stories in the Bible about mentoring. This is one of the first stories, many stories, where an older woman mentored a younger woman. And I pray so much for the younger women of our world today that they will attach themselves, they'll pray and ask God's guidance and attach themselves to women who are just not merely older in age, but women who have gone through, men who have been through difficulties and stresses, and still they make it, and still they hold on, and still they trust. And those women do not take credit for their perseverance, they give it all to the Lord. So I pray for younger women in our society that they will yield to such relationships with these kind of women, and they'll seek these women out. And that older women who have this love for the Lord and who have been through and yet come out on the other side will seek out younger women to mentor them. So the story goes that Naomi and Ruth went on to Bethlehem despite Naomi's protests against Ruth coming with her. And she went with Naomi, and the story is so powerful. Again, all the stories in the Bible are powerful. And out of that, one day, Naomi guided and encouraged her, Ruth, and told her, she gave her instructions about this man named Boaz. We hear a lot about Boaz in our churches today as regard to women and seeking their husbands and looking for their husbands. But I think the part that a lot of women are not getting or understanding is that for Ruth to have received her Boaz, she had to be obedient to Naomi. Naomi told her to do something that a lot of women in our society today, with all our education and our training and our degrees and all our independence and all our knowledge, if they had been in the position of Ruth, would they have done what she told them to do? It is in Ruth's obedience to what Naomi told her to do that allowed her to be in the lineage of Jesus Christ. This has been Dr. Judith. Until the next time, when I'll continue to share with you about Ruth and Naomi. Until then, God bless you. As they say back home, walk good. Take care until then. Bye-bye.